Mr. Sunil Khurana sir. Please come up on the stage. He is a Managing Director and CEO of PPL Medical Technologies Private Limited, Bangalore.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Thanks for coming on the weekend because I know we are on the weekend, and so thank you so much. It's really an honor and a privilege to be here with you all, and I'm going to take my views to you that how infrastructure in medical devices, because I'm a medical devices expert, so how those have its strong linkages. I'll just cover that. It's backed up with a lot of data. We have picked up the data which are all published data, and based on that, I'm going to talk. Just to tell about myself, I'm in this space for nearly now little over 4 decades. Started in 82 my career, and nearly 28, 29 years I was part of G Healthcare, and then I was also working for Bharti Infra as Chief Operating Officer, and then we formed this company which was invested by Goldman Sachs and family of BPL, and that's how this company got formed, BPL Medical. Pretty decent journey in last 9 years, but I'm not going to speak anything on the company side. This is a very interesting topic. If you see, pandemic had made the healthcare infrastructure gap clear. What does it signify and imply to the medical industry? So I'm just going to restrict here more with the medical devices information. Now, how I'm going to cover is that I'll just touch a little bit of micros on the healthcare industry. Then, what has pandemic impacted? That little bit. Everybody has been talking yesterday. We have heard a lot from the great speakers. And then, about a little bit hospital infra. And the last is, I'll just put some conclusion pages and put it. Now, let me go straight on the micros. This is a very, very important slide because this gives us a very interesting phenomenon, understanding that where are we today. If you look at the first one, this is disease-adjusted life years. Now, this is a very interesting, you might have not heard, but what it shows is that if you just compare between India and US, you will find that we have not a great life when we become aged, and we literally live there. So we have a huge opportunity to improve our lifestyle or being better. So that's one space which is always being compared, and we're not doing that great. In fact, China is doing pretty decent there. Another important area which always touches me is the number of beds. The number of beds has a direct relationship to infrastructure. Now, highest number of beds globally are from Japan. That's nearly 10 beds per 1,000 population. This is a little old slide. Now, we are not 1.1, but published data is not there. My best assessment is we are now more like a 1.3, 1.4 beds per 1,000. China has moved from here 3.1 to close to 4 now. That's the information I have. But published data was not available. Sorry, China has moved close to 3.2, 3.3 from 2. So I will compare mostly China. The reason is that we are similar in terms of size. Population is very similar, and we are both growing economy. Of course, they are a little ahead of us, but we are growing economy. What you have to also see here, that what is the GDP investment happening by each country. And if you look at here, government spend is very nominal. It's only 1.3, though now last 2-3 years it is now 1.5% of the GDP. But if you compare with China, the government investment against 1.3, they are 2.3. Now 2.3 for a 15-18 trillion and 1.3 for a only 3.5 trillion, it's a big difference. It's not only a simple percentage. It is a big, big difference because you have lots and lots of difference. And I also believe that in next 4-5 years time, as we are growing 6 to 7% GDP year on year, from 3.5 we may go to 5. And Government of India has launched a new initiative, and that's what last budget Madam said, that from 1.5% of GDP investment we are going to go for a 2.5. And the moment this investment comes, it is definitely going to go toward the infrastructure. Because it's infrastructure where you need that investment. I mean, look at the way any country is known by the infrastructure. You go to some developed nation, we are very pleased to see the roads and airports and all that. I mean, that is now happening in India. And probably priority-wise, healthcare was not a sector which was much focused, but last couple of years there has been a lot of focus. Now, this is another slide which shows the per capita investment you are doing toward the healthcare. We are talking on a PEP comparative basis. Look at 61, and if you really see US is at a very high number of 9,000. Now, this is why it is that even our total per capita income is not there to that level, and we are investing on the healthcare only 61. So it is really low, and there is absolutely no doubt about it that these are going to go toward the north. It is definitely going to become very, very strong as time passes by, and that's the optimism we have. Because you see all the nations. Now, China is about 400, we are 60. The difference is primarily because of the size of GDP they have and the percentage of money they invest toward the. So this is a direct relationship. What I feel that healthcare in infrastructure is nothing but number of beds. From number of beds, you keep improving. You have more and more space, more and more, per foot squares for the hospital infrastructure, and you're going to put more beds. Imagine today if we are at 1.2 or 1.3, it becomes 2 or becomes 2.5. We double the number of beds. The medical devices total market will become double because you need those many extra CT scanners, MRIs, patient monitoring, ECGs, and all that. So it is a direct relationship. It's an absolutely clear linear relationship that as the infrastructure grows, your medical devices are bound to it. It is not the case with the pharma. Pharma is a consumption base, and in India we even can get from the over-the-counter, which is also happening quite regularly. People pick the pharma from the market. But in the case of medical devices, you have to have that infrastructure to put it there. Now, pandemic, we all know that it really challenged all of us. And it is not only developing nation like India. I think even developed nation also at that time really prepared. We all felt that we were not ready to face a pandemic. And that was a awakening call. Everybody really got really so much effort. So how I see healthcare, I have put into 4 pillars. And first pillar, which is most crucial pillar, is the physicians, clinicians, paramedics. They're the first pillar. If they are not there, you cannot go further down. The second pillar is that you have to have a pharma. So if you have a doctor, you need to have a medicine to treat the patient. Right? Another very, very important pillar is the infrastructure. As you build infrastructure, which is hospital, nursing home, clinics, and all that. So this is a third pillar. And the fourth pillar is where we have a role to play, which is medical devices. So I'm going to stay tuned only to the last 2 pillars, which is more this area. But I want to also tell that you need to have, today we have a very low percentage of physicians to our population. It's very, very low. It is nearly 1/10 of what WHO recommends. So there's a huge initiative I've seen, and I've just mentioned here UP, that UP from about 8 to 10 medical colleges in 5 years' time has gone 30 medical colleges plus, and they have a plan to go to 55. And I'm sure it's not only UP, it's happening across. This was the data because I attended one of the program, and there it was published. So huge investment to build more and more doctors is happening by the government, and policies coming, very proactively. But imagine if today you start a session, you are going to see the outcomes only after 5-6 years, because that's the time you have to see. But the moment that time passes by and you have those medical colleges, you will see a lot many doctors and paramedics coming to the market to serve the people. So this is one important understanding we need to have. We are a pharmacy of the globe. I mean, we all know that in generic and especially in the case of vaccinations, we have done so very well. So we are doing very well on the pharma. Pharma is also being supported by a lot by the government policies. Because government need to support. Unless you have a government who is supporting with the right policies, look at automobile. The way automobile came at the time of Maruti and the way infrastructure got created, it was all willpower of government. So government need to bring a lot of policies, such favorable policies that many companies are interested to set up their shop. And once they set up a shop, the cost of equipment will come down. You are going to give a lot many employment to the people. So that's a very, very key. And I've started seeing in 4 decades, I haven't really seen that kind of traction. But the kind of traction now I see in Government of India for medical devices is awesome. I mean, we keep getting calls from various ministries that what help you need to set up a factory. This never happened. So wonderful activities happening there. Now, I mean, I'll just put it on the we were the third worst country in the sense, the most impacted country on the total patients during the pandemic time. And we all know that how it was a challenge was there. We really were really suffering. And from there, if I today look at, there's a global data which says that just in 12 weeks of 2020, 28.5 million scheduled OT procedures were cancelled. And it's a big number. And slowly that all is coming back. And the good news is that coming back, you cannot build an infrastructure overnight. It's a process, it is time it takes to build an infrastructure. But now I see that government and private both are trying to build. Another thing is the SOPs or frameworks. I don't want to name specific hospitals, but I have gone to even some of the leading hospitals which are bad today. But if they have, as per the SOP, there is a 20-bed ICU, do they have a 20 ventilators? No. I haven't seen that it is with 6 to 7 ventilators you manage it. So if those level of hospitals are managing with less number of equipments, just think of the small hospitals. When this issue started, I remember that at the government level, there was a lot of counting going on. How many ICU ventilators we have in government hospitals, how many are functional, how many are ideal, and how many are in the private. And that number came something like 65, 70,000 units. Very, very small if you look at the size of the country. So the framework in terms of guidelines and policies, that if you set up a hospital, you've got to have your oxygen plant, you've got to have these equipments, nothing less than that you will get renewal. Some such policies are in the process now. And I'm sure as we move forward, that's going to help us a lot. And the last is that we have to not try. We have to really go in terms of building this in a big way. And I'm not saying that we expect any more pandemic, but as yesterday Dr. Bhatia and everybody was talking, that pandemic may not be as pandemic, but something or other will keep coming, and we got to really keep us ready. So that is where we have to not try, and a lot of hard work needs to be done. And we should not just get into a crisis mode, not in a very reactive mode. We got to be ready in a proactive manner to build it. Now, this is the data I've just picked up from some published data. And if you look at the hospital infrastructure consumes nearly 80% of your bandwidth and funds. And then comes, hospital is now growing in the range of about 16 to 17% on a CAGR basis. We are talking of that this will become something like 130, 140 million size in that 5 period. And Ayushman Bharat now, we have a lot of centers. Now, this is something very positive. I want to touch here that insurance is one area which actually increases the health care and it gets touched less because everybody out of pocket cannot afford it. Now, nearly 50 crore people are covered, underprivileged people are covered. They just go to the card, and even in the large hospitals, they are being admitted up to ceiling of 5 lakhs rupees. Amazing effort. This is phenomenal effort by any government. I don't think anywhere in the world this kind of policy is coming. Because very few who work get from the company's insurance, or you go and take your family insurance, right? But this was a phenomenal thing which we have seen, and this has been done. Now, what we understand again, it is from probably Invest India, that nearly 600 projects are right now in the active stage of building. When I say projects, these are small, medium, and large hospitals. These are private and government hospitals put together. That's the number they say, and $32 billion is going to be invested for that. So a lot of money and a lot of investment. So basically, what I'm trying to say here is that continuously that effort to create right size of infrastructure for our country is being planned, and tier 2, tier 3 is becoming very, very promising. And today, you want to have a setup very close to the patients, affected patients. If patient is in the tier 3, and if he has to travel to metro or other places, it's a very big difficult time. So what is being now done by those large hospitals, the district level hospitals, they set up a small hub and spoke model. So they have a little larger hospital in their district headquarters, they set up a small shop, and that shop is also defined that what all they need to have in that, and that we see. We get a specific package that there has to be one X-ray machine, one ultrasound, one this, one that. There's a list. Minimum that needs to be kept there in those locations, and from there they get qualified, and those guys then push to a larger institute. So great effort because of the Ayushman Bharat effort. We are beginning to see lots and lots of new small setups being created. It is very important, and I always believe a retail model. You have to have lots and lots of touch points, and that is what these small hospitals are doing it. Now, let me just go. This is a challenge. This is an opportunity and challenge both. What we are trying to show here is the urban and rural. What is the kind of size you have today? What is the kind of physicians population in urban versus rural? And these are all self-explanatory. That we have about 30% population living in the urban and 70% in rural. We have 63% business. That's the area which I feel we should correct here. And the last is, I'm very happy the way IISc or academia like IITs are working now. I mean, they work very closely. This has started happening in the last couple of years. We've seen Kanpur IIT, I visited there, and many more institutes. There are a lot of incubation happening. The professors are engaged to make many products which are quickly getting localized in the market. What you need to do, if you start making, your cost of those machines will come down. And today, I also want to tell you that our cost of treatment is very low. It's not viable for these hospitals to get those machines which come at the same price what you buy in US or UK or anywhere. But you get here at 2,000 rupees, which is something like $25, a head scan, and nobody pays less than $300. So pressure on system is very high because charges are low. Though we earn less, I understand that sensitivity. We feel that hospitals still pleasing you. No, they have a huge task to break even, and that's a challenge. And that is where local products will bring that difference. What is being made at a crore rupees, I can tell you, if the Indian industry, especially on the electronic side, comes in, you will see that components from local. Today we buy components from outside, pay custom duty, and then make the product. Whereas if you start making a product in India through the local customs, local components, which is going to happen, we know that how many $1 billion have been sanctioned and so many large houses are jumping into that space. So down the line, 3-4 years, when those components starts coming to us, the cost will dramatically come down. And that's the advantage China has. They have nearly 100% consumptions of their local components. And the cost is dramatically low. So those are the advantages, and regulatory, I'm very happy that now regulatory is bringing some framework. I mean, just remember last year or last year when oxygen issue was there, we were the only company having the technology. As a BPL medical technology, we only had the oxygen concentrator, our own technology, and Philips was the next two companies. These two companies were strong and known companies. Can you believe it that anybody and everybody started importing the whatever is available as the name of oxygen concentrator, and there was a flood. And most unfortunate is that many of those products came in our brand. They were putting a sticker there. We went to the media and said that we have only these two models. Then government of India approached us through NITI and all that. We have multiple conferences. And they said that your capacity is only make 1,000-1,500 units a month because you make many more things. Why don't you give this technology to government of India? And we shared that technology to BEL, Bharat Electronics Limited, and they started making about 1,000 units a day. So what I'm trying to say that this is the way regulatory doesn't work. Anybody can bring it. Now, from September next year onwards, you will not have any product in India brought through the customs or sold to the end customer which is not approved and listed at CDSU. So that is a huge change. In small countries like Sri Lanka had this regulation 15 years back. Drugs had, but medical devices were not there. So you're getting all spurious, very low quality products. I mean, those oxygen concentrators were giving in 35-40% output in terms of purity. So that's not going to happen because those all products needs to have a clinical validation. And that's a change, which is a big change going to happen. Few points I have just written that, most nations, we also face a big issue. And this is a very important point. I've already touched that from 1.5 to 2.5, government of India is moving the GDP investment toward the overall, and that is going to improve the overall infrastructure. Now, private also has a lot of availability of money. I mean, they can have their own money, bank, and PE funds, and VCs, and IPO route, and many routes. So it is today. Fund is not that expensive. It used to be very expensive. Today, at a very right price points, you have the funds available, and building an infrastructure is not a challenge. Now, clearly, infrastructure I relate with the patient bed. Bigger infrastructure, more number of beds. As Dr. Bhatia yesterday was saying, that there are lots and lots of infrastructure unused. In fact, government should put some kind of ownership that how can we quickly bring that to make it functional. That's what I'm saying. And as I said, that a lot of incubators came. This is just a summary. And government of India, a big desire for Atmanirbhar. This is a big deal. At some stage, we thought that we should have self-reliance for the food grains, and today we are thinking that medical devices should be completely self, and this is a big deal. And it is no choice, I guess. Whether it's a MNCs or local company, everybody has to set up a shop in India. If you want to survive and take a better, piece from the cake, increasing cake, you cannot really stay away from there, and this is bound to happen. Semiconductor industry, as I said, that as it comes, makes you more and more, viable and better on the cost side. They are going to play a big use. And single-use medical devices. I read some time back that some places, some hospitals have been using something which should be used single time, which is consumable, multiple times. If there is a strong regulation that you cannot use this second time, imagine it becomes double, triple, 4 times immediately. So such rules should come, though they are being charged, each patient is charged for that. And MDR have touched, this is medical regulation which is going to come. And infrastructure it's not understood by common man. When we talk of infrastructure, common men will not understand, but hospital guys know it very well. And we all feel good today, the way roads are being done and airports are being done. It's always seen by their infrastructure. Just 2 decades back, as our healthcare delivery level was very different, and today we are at a very different level. I think we are at par with the global arena, and that's what Dr. India yesterday also touched. That it is heartening to see that quality of clinicians in India are at par or even better, because they get more exposed to the more patients and they get trained very quickly. So their exposure is high and they get trained and their clinical acumen becomes very, very strong. So this is a very, very positive side, but mostly they are in tier 1 and tier 2. And that is where the technology should bridge that gap. And this I just touched here. And this also touched that incomplete data, and we should try to do 65% more. Today it's less than 10%. By 24 it is supposed, by 40 it is supposed to be 15%, which is more like a 160 billion people. So imagine India size is 140 and 1.4. So 1.6 billion population is going to be in that age, and they would need connected devices which can be seen by hospitals and their clinicians with the data flowing to them, and technology will definitely bring that to happen. And another area how this market will become changed. Think of it that when we used to initially buy 30 years back car, we'll only say we want to buy a car, right? And car has to have 4 wheels, that's it, that was the specification. That's the way medical equipments were bought. And as today paying propensity is going, as awareness is becoming higher, you don't only want to buy a 5-para basic monitor, you want to buy something better which can give you more outputs. So slowly we are moving up, and my belief is, look at the car. How many people buy 800 now? It's different. Same way medical devices, and that's also going to make it big, probably double, triple, straight away as that is changing. And today we are 85-15. My best estimate, again based on whatever experience I have, that my view is that in about 15 years time, it is not overnight, in about 15 years time, 50% medical devices will be made in India, 50% still would be imported. But by that time, more than $40 billion business will happen in India. From 1.5, you have a potential to have a $40 billion, because this is not an India consumption. This also will have a lot of consumption outside India, which you will be exporting. So this is my assessment, and this is not a data. So this I'll just leave you to read it, but what I want to just put on the last punchline, medical devices with infra growth is a sunshine sector. I have no doubt in my mind that as we move forward from here, it is going to become very good. Thank you so much.